we cannot ignore that there are big things happening in history is literally unfolding
Right.
all around us right now. And it can be scary, but at the same time, we know where our hope lies. Hey everyone, this is Yvette Hampton. Welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. Thank you for joining me today. I have Aby Rinella back with me today. Hi, Aby.
Hey, how's it going?
So good. I am so
Uh,
glad that we are here. It is Christmas week,
uh,
which is so exciting. I am
yeah,
I am loving the Christmas season this year, and
I
I'm
am
glad.
too.
Yeah.
I
Well,
am too.
we were just talking before we jumped on. It's snowing where you are.
Yes, it's been snowing for days and days and days.
That's so crazy. Like, how
I am.
many inches or feet of snow do you have?
Oh, I mean, I bet 14 to 16 inches in the last couple days. Yeah, it's been awesome. And when we had talked about doing, I remember we were going to do the Christmas episode, but we were going to record it like November.
Right.
And I was like, I don't think I can do that. I can't fake Christmas. Like, I can't look out my window and not have snow, and so it is actually we're doing this, and it's actually Christmas, and it's actually snowing outside my window
Yes.
right now.
I'm so glad.
I
I'm so glad you're getting
know.
your beautiful snow. You're gonna have to send me some pictures of it
I
because
will.
we don't have snow, though we might have snow this year. I mean, last year we got a crazy amount of snow right after we
Ugh,
arrived in Oklahoma.
it
It was
welcomed you.
nuts.
I remember seeing the pictures, that is so cool.
It was so beautiful. It was
Oh,
so cold. That's
yeah,
the first time I've ever lived anywhere with negative degrees.
that is so funny. We don't
It
get
was
negative degrees that much. That's kinda miserable.
oh, yeah. It was really,
Yeah, but
really, really
it
cold.
makes Christmas I don't know, it makes it special.
Yeah.
So
So
the
I'm
other night it was snowing outside and we were watching White Christmas, and I was like, "This is it. It's here. Christmas is here."
White Christmas. I haven't seen that movie.
The musical, the old musical from, like,
No.
the '50s or '40s
Oh,
or
am I supposed to watch that?
Oh, yeah, you can. I mean, it's
Okay.
just a Christmas tradition. It's definitely not something Jesse or Colson watched by any means, 'cause it's a lot of s it's fun. But guess what else we have done, speaking of watching things?
What?
We've had kind of a fun Christmas this year. We have all these traditions, and we broke them all this year, and we saw several things. So, we went and saw Elf live,
Fun?
the musical. Then we
Nice.
went and saw The
Was
Chosen.
was the real elf there?
No, which I have to be honest, we were watching it, and I'm like, "You can't really watch Elf without Will Ferrell, let's be honest. You just can't." And then we went and saw Chosen, which tells the really raw, raw, raw story of the birth of Christ.
Uh-huh.
And then we went and saw live we kinda did a live theater year. Have you read The Greatest Christmas Pageant Ever?
Oh, yeah, we just finished reading it just a
Okay.
couple days ago. I
So,
love that book.
I do too. So, they did a live musical of that, and we went and watched that, and it was phenomenal.
Wow.
So, that's kind of been what we've been up to this Christmas season, lots of live theater.
That
Not
is
not
so
that
fun.
Chosen was live, but it was just it's fun to bring that nativity story to life on the big screen.
Yes. I
So,
love that book, The Greatest Christmas Story
it's
Ever. I'll put a link to that because if you guys haven't read it, it's a quick read. I mean, I read it. Actually, it was really fun because a neighbor of ours, her family, they're from Brazil. They're moving back to Brazil next week, actually, and her daughter came over for a few days and did some school stuff with us. And so I was able to read that with her. And I had started it with Lacey. We read it every year.
Yeah.
I had started it with her, and Lacey was like, "Let's start over." And so I read it with our neighbor
Oh.
who had never read it, and she
Oh,
really enjoyed it, and
it
it's such
is
a sweet book.
it is so great, and honestly, the audio version,
Yeah?
whoever reads it, I wish I could tell you, but does a phenomenal job, like,
Oh.
it's only 2 hours. I was like
Yeah,
when we found out it was playing live, we hadn't read it yet. I mean, we've read it 100 times, but not yet this year, and I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh, we gotta get this read." And it's seriously 2 hours on Audible, and it's, or on whatever the library whatever, but
Yeah.
she does a phenomenal job reading it, and while you're cooking dinner, it's so funny, and this is what I love about that book. It breaks down, like, because it's edgy. I mean, I'll be honest, it's
Yeah, it
edgy.
is.
Some people are like, "Oh, it's a little edgy book." But I'm like, the whole Christmas story is edgy. I mean,
Yes.
the whole point, I feel like, of that book is it breaks down all of the fake religious
Yeah.
image thing of Christmas. It breaks all of that down, and it brings, like, hope and love and freedom
Yeah.
just to all of the messy, ugly, like, the things that we don't wanna touch, like, just
Right.
the it's just an amazing book, and it really sends that message to the kids of, you know what? The world is messy, and it isn't this perfect little pretty Christmas story that we read in some of the books or on the cartoons, It was
Yeah.
messy, and and it's still messy today, but we have Jesus who brings hope and
Yeah.
love and peace and freedom, and so that's why I love that book. I love the edginess of the book for that
Yes.
very reason, honestly.
Yes, me too, and I love the way it ends, like, it couldn't have a better
Yes.
ending, and I won't tell what the ending is for those
No.
who have not yet read it, but I will say I'm right with there with you, Abby.
Yeah.
If you haven't read this book, even if, you're listening to this, it's the week of Christmas, get it on Amazon, and even if it comes after Christmas, still read it with your kids and with your
Yes.
family because it is such a good book that will
And if you
really
start
open up
to
their
read it
eyes.
yes, and if you start to read it and you're like, "Whoa, I gotta put that," because there were a few times the first time I
Yeah,
ever read it, I'm
yes.
like, "What in the world? Like, I'm not reading this with the kids." Power through it
Yes. Yep.
because the reality is it's the story that's all of us, you know?
Right. Yeah,
We're
there are a
all the
couple of words,
herdmans.
all the Herdmans,
All of
there
us are
there
them.
there are a couple of words in there that I just would
Yes.
skip over,
Yep.
yeah, and it's nothing atrocious, but there are a few words
Right.
I was like, "I'm just not gonna read that word," and I would
Right.
just, skip ahead. But yeah, it's a great book,
It
and,
is.
so it's fun. Yeah, our Christmas movies are, Elf, we always watch that. It's so
Yes.
funny. You're like, my husband and son didn't really like that. Well, it's not Garrett's favorite movie either, but
No, no,
Lacey
they
and I
loved
love
Elf.
that movie.
They loved Elf.
Oh, they
My
love
whole
Elf.
family was it was, White Christmas.
Oh, White Christmas. Oh, yeah, yeah, okay.
No,
Well,
Elf, oh my goodness, Elf is a family favorite, like,
it
literally,
is so
and it
funny.
never gets old, and all 5 of us absolutely love it.
Yes, yeah, it's a funny, funny movie, and, also A Christmas Story. That's our other
Yeah.
Christmas movie that we enjoy watching. Every year, we
Yes.
have to watch it at least once. We had a friend visit with us, a couple weeks ago, and he had never seen it before, and he
So
watched it, and at the
fun.
end, he's like, "I didn't understand it." I was like,
Ah!
What's not to understand?"
That is so funny.
Red Ryder BB gun, you'll shoot your eye out,
Totally.
like,
How do
Blake
you
lamp.
not
I mean, what
understand
don't
that?
you get? It's just funny.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, those are favorites. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, I love doing all the Christmas movies. We
Yeah.
like The Grinch. The kids got kinda sick of The Grinch after a while.
Oh, yeah, we're not a Grinch family. I don't
It
love that
kinda I don't
movie.
know, you can see it once, but I did
Yeah,
something about Elf, it never, ever, ever gets old.
yeah.
And so anyway, yeah, but The
Yeah,
Greatest Christmas Pageant, read it, listen to it, and then
yes.
this we went and saw it, and it was a children's theater well, both. It was it was a phenomenal production, and
Yeah,
they brought the whole thing to life,
that's
so,
awesome. Do you
yeah.
guys do, any kind of an Advent book? We're reading through an Advent book right now. You would think I would have written down the title of it, and I don't have it in front of me,
Here's
but
it'll be
I
in the
will put
show
a
notes.
link to it in the show notes because we are
Promise.
enjoying it. It's a good Advent book. Do
You
you
love
do it?
it?
I
Well,
do.
this year I feel like there's a theme in our life this year. Isn't it weird how we didn't plan it, but, do you ever notice that God does that? Like, or even in homeschool, you'll read something in history and then it'll be in science and then have you ever had that
Yes,
happen where it
yeah,
all
yep.
connects? So this was not a plan, but we, bought the new, Kim Sorges.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah,
she does all these great devotions. She
she
does
does.
amazing devotions. Anyway, she did a new one this year called Uncovering Mercies at the Manger,
Oh,
and
wow.
this is the really cool theme of it. It takes you through basically we're only on day 14, because we recorded this last week if you're listening. Um, but it takes you through the lineage of Christ, and then there's when he was born, and then it goes past that. But, um, what's so cool as kinda how we were talking about the greatest Christmas pageant ever, that it's kind of a messy movie, and there or a story, there's kids that are just it's a mess,
A
right?
mess. Yeah.
Um, and just the lost and the hopeless, and, so we're going through this Kim Sorges thing, and it talks about the lineage, and you're diving into the people and the lineage of Christ, and that recurring theme of, like, these people were a mess. I mean, you have prostitutes, you have the Rahabs, you have, Sarah and Abraham who had babies outside, like, it's a mess, and
Yeah.
it just, I feel like, broke down, and maybe it was so special with the ages that my kids are, they've learned the beautiful Christmas story, we do the nativity at church every year, da, 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 and it is lovely, but to really look at it and go, God came into a messy world.
Yeah.
Like, he came into a place where it was dark, and people, right now in this world, I think a lot of us we struggle with feeling hopeless or fearful, or like it's a mess right now.
Yeah.
And the reality is it's always been a mess. Like, what
Yes.
we're living through right now is not new to God. Like,
Right.
it's just this it's new to us because, like, I was an '80s kid and it didn't get much better in the '80s, right? But the truth is it's always been a mess, and when you look from where Jesus came from and came into, it was a mess, and so we've really enjoyed that nativity. So every day you're learning about so far a character in the lineage, and you're just learning about the grace and the mercy that God has shown throughout all of history as he brought his son into the world. So that's a long answer for yes, we're doing an Advent.
Yeah, I love it. We'll have to put a link to that in the show notes for sure.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
What we do at IEW is break through the noise of the grammar and the writing prompts, and we say, this is what you do, step by step. And I've witnessed it over and over again, both watching Andrew teach and hearing from parents, this is the best writing program. We've made it so easy and made it really affordable. So any mom can teach writing to their children using our course, and we guarantee it.
To try 3 weeks of free lessons, visit IEW.com. We are back with Aby Rinella. And before the break, we were talking about just messy and about being in this world of kind of messiness.
Mhm.
And what I keep, I don't know. We were talking before, actually, we started recording about feeling unsettled
Yeah.
and just how I feel like so many people right now are feeling unsettled.
Mhm.
And you said something that really resonated with me, Abby, that like, are we feeling unsettled because we are
Right.
unsettled and because we're yearning for heaven?
Right.
And I was like, I think so because, like you were saying, like it's like so many people just feel shaken right now and we can't put
Mhm.
our finger on it. We can't figure out like
Totally.
why. Why
Right.
do we feel shaken? And not just us as adults, but our kids too. Like I just
Right.
see the effect it's having on our kids. Why do we feel this way? And it's because something's going on.
Right.
There's
For
something. And
sure.
I mean, no one can ignore it, no matter how much they try.
Totally.
We cannot ignore that there are big things happening in history is literally unfolding
Right.
all around us right now. And it can be scary, but at the same time, we know where our hope lies.
Yep.
And it's in heaven,
Right.
right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's really what it's all about. And that's what Christmas is all about, is that we're pointing everything to eternity.
Correct. Right. And I was saying before, like 5 years ago, I didn't feel this unrest. I didn't feel this
Right.
unsettling. But isn't that like Jesse keeps saying, like, isn't that what we're always supposed to feel is this yearning for heaven? Like, if we're comfortable here, something's wrong. Like, we
Yeah.
shouldn't be comfortable here on earth because this isn't our home. We should feel unsettled and that doesn't mean not at peace. Like we have a
Right.
peace. There's difference. But I'm just saying, like, not comfortable. This isn't our home. We shouldn't be comfortable here. We should have a constant yearning for heaven. And I
Yeah.
feel like this isn't a bad thing that we're feeling this way. It's uncomfortable, but the reality is this is new to us. Like I said, our
Mhm.
generation, everybody that's living right now, this is new to us, but this isn't new to God. I mean, I think it's interesting because as I'm reading the Psalms, it's like we read all about, David talking about God's protection and provide and protect me from my enemy and all these things and save me from the nation, like just all of this stuff. And I've never really known and and felt it so deeply as I feel now when I read that. I mean, I felt it personally, but I'm talking as a nation, as a world, as
Yeah.
what's going on around us. And it's so cool because I read it now and I'm like, that's why this is the living word. I'm reading the same words I've always been reading, but it's so much deeper now, like, I'm getting it in a different way, in a different light now, it hits home, and, um, I think it's a good to have this unsettling feeling because it
Yeah.
keeps our eyes where they need to be.
Right. Right. It does. It makes us cling to the Lord
Right.
more desperately than we've ever had to cling to him before. I was
Correct.
reading this week in Matthew that I just finished reading Jeremiah and I was like, okay, I need a break from the Israelites right
Yeah.
now.
Totally.
They're
I think
frustrating
you
me.
think God felt that? Like, "I just need a break from the Israelites right now." I'm
Yes.
just kidding.
I'm pretty sure he feels like that with all of mankind.
Totally,
Um,
totally.
but yeah, I was okay. I'm gonna do some New Testament reading for a little
Uh,
while. So I jumped ahead to Matthew and well, I'm reading through some of the Gospels right now, but Matthew 11 at 28 and 29 really hit me the other day, and it says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I
mm,
will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart,
yeah,
and you will find rest for your souls." And man, that is such a powerful verse. I think it's one of those verses that we just breeze over.
right.
But when you really dig into that and you think about those words, like, come to me, he's literally saying, come to me, just like we want our children when our children are hurting
Yes.
or struggling. we don't say to our kids, you know what, good luck. You're going to have to deal with that on your own.
Right.
You know,
Best of luck.
best of
Peace
luck to you.
out.
Yeah,
See ya.
exactly.
Let me know how it goes.
Right, right.
Uh,
And our Heavenly Father, He loves us even more than we love our kids. And
right.
so, just like we want our kids to come to us, we want to hold them in our laps and we want to snuggle them and we want to just say, it's going to be okay.
Right.
I'm here. I've
Right.
got you. I'm holding you. I'm here to protect you.
Right.
And I have your best interest in mind. And there's going to be pain and there are going to be bumps in the road,
Mhm.
but it's going to be okay.
Right.
But then he goes on and says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I'm gentle and lowly in heart. Like, I can't even say that about myself all the
Right.
time. I mean, sometimes I'm gentle, I
Right.
try to be gentle with my
Right.
kids. Um, and I try to teach them, but we can't even replace God. I mean, by,
Right.
any stretch of the imagination. And so what a privilege and blessing we have that we have a God who's saying to us, come to me.
Right.
I got you.
Totally.
It's going to be fine. And yes, your longing is for heaven. And as believers, that's what we want. And that's what we want our kids to
Right.
desire as well.
Yeah. And there's an action there. When God says, come to me, what that means, we have to do that. And I think
Yes.
right now you see the temptation all around, and we've all struggled with it. I'm coming to the news. I'm coming to my
Yeah.
plan. I'm coming to preparing for what's coming, even though I literally don't know what that is, but somehow
Right.
I think I'm going to outsmart it. Right. Um, and so I think we kind of do that. It's our human nature. I'm going to try all these other things to get peace out of this situation and to figure it out. And then when all else fails, I'll come to you. But he's saying, no, 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 just come to me. Like, that's the first thing we need to do, is we need to come to him. And I think well, we can talk about it a little bit later, but I love that verse, but it is an action,
Yeah.
it's something we have to choose to do daily and get rid of all the noise and the
Yeah.
distractions that keep us from coming to him, all of the constant busy that's out there that
Yeah.
somehow makes us think that we can control what's happening, because we can't, you
Right.
know. But I feel like when we come to him, that's where we're going to get our marching orders, because he has prepared us.
Yeah.
He has placed us in such a time as this. He did give it. I mean, it's kind of like Mary. I mean, are you kidding me? And we can talk about that later too, but think about what she can't think about, her situation and her
Right.
circumstances. My goodness. We think we have it so hard, but come to me and then you get your marching orders. And God gave them every step of the way, but we have to go to him. And then he's going to tell us, when do I speak? When do I be still? When do I
Right.
go? When do I stay? And I think as we're all navigating this day and age, uh, that's the first thing we need to do, is come to him.
Yeah. Yep. He tells us to do it. And that's being obedient too. Like, he's
Yep.
actually instructing us to do that. Come to me,
Yes. Yep.
just like we,
Not
again,
optional.
ask our kids, come to
Yeah.
me. We
Yeah.
don't give
Before
them the
you start
option.
boiling water, I would
Right.
like you to come to me and ask,
Right.
because I'm going to save you a lot of trouble, right? And I'm
Right.
going to teach you the right way to do it. And that's what
Yeah.
God's telling us. I'm going to save you, or I'm going to walk you through the trouble that's coming, at least.
Yes. Yes. Because he cares.
Yes, he
He
does.
absolutely cares.
Uh,
We're out of time for this episode. Let's come back on Wednesday. I want to talk more about Christmas. I want to talk about making it all about Jesus, and
yes.
just how we can focus on him through this season and going into the new year. There's so many exciting things that we can and should hope for. And so we'll talk about that on Wednesday. Thank you guys for joining us today. Please share this episode with your friends. If you're listening to it, if you're watching it, please hit the share button. Text it to, I mean, I do this. It's so funny. We'll hear a good episode on a podcast that's not the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast, and we'll send it to each other and say, you've got to listen to this episode because it's so good and it'll, just minister to you. So please do that with us as well. We would love it if you would share this podcast. Also, if you have not yet been to the Schoolhouse Rocked website and watched the movie, please go do that. You guys, it's so good. The feedback we're getting is amazing. It is touching lives. It's shaping families in a different way than a lot of families thought they would ever be shaped. And it's all because the Lord is doing that through Schoolhouse Rocked. But go to the website, schoolhouserocked.com, and find the movie there. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you back here on Wednesday. Bye.
We know that we are called to put on the armor of God. So we are teaching our children to be salt and light in the world, but we're not putting our children out onto the front lines of the battle until they're ready.
We need to look at our children and realise they can't be salt till they've got salt. And if the salt's contaminated, then it's no good for anything. That's what the scripture says. And they have to remember that because of our sin nature, it's more likely the culture will influence our children rather than the children the culture. So how can we send them out into the world until we have prepared them? You don't send a knight out to fight until he's prepared with all the armor that he needs.
So the front lines really in the culture right now, what is up for grabs in the culture? It's truth. Truth is what's in the crosshairs right now. And until our children are steeped in truth, until they know truth, until they can defend truth, we would never put a defenseless child out on the front lines. And education is a frontline battle. It is not a sideline battle. It's not something that's happening in the periphery of our lives. This is happening in the culture in real time. This is the front line of the culture. This is where the battle for truth is being fought, and it is where the battle for truth is being lost. And so we do not want our children out on the front lines. We are training our children to go out onto the front lines. And so to me, when we talk about salt and light, I say, let's put the people out on the front lines who are trained and ready for battle.